Hi, I'm Cooper Johnson, and we are here today for Week in Pop Magazine. We are here with Total Slacker, whose fourth album, Extra Life, just dropped. So, tell us about the fourth album. What is Extra Life? What's it all about? I was listening earlier, and it's just such a vibe. It's Extra Life. So, can you talk to us more about that album? What's it about? What's the ideas behind it? I was listening earlier. It's great.
I think it's different from anything I've ever recorded, actually, because I'd been demoing a bunch of songs for about 2 years up till that point. So I really took a lot of time and really just like crafting the record, spent a lot of time on it and didn't rush myself, which I'd never really done that before. Like all my other albums that, I like them, Total Slacker records, but those albums, were made really quickly. Like I recorded them within the time span of like 2 weeks, with like zero pre-production. And then you get in the studio and you find yourself kind of like rushing through parts and kind of second guessing things because you didn't work on them enough.
About your experience being on a major record label, Warner Brothers in your case, or, versus being an independent artist?
Sure. Yeah, don't get on a major label. The pros and cons, there definitely are some pros. I just can't think of them right now.
Okay.
I'm just grateful that I got to be on a big label like Warner. That was pretty cool. It was on their subsidiary, and yeah, got to go on tour. But I guess I'll leave that with that. What I've learned is I fit better on an indie label, and I fit better in the indie world for what I wanted to create and what the content I want to put out and the music that I want to write. It just doesn't belong on a major label.
Recently you had a song be featured on Uprising, which was an Emmy Award-winning film on Netflix, right? And so what was that like having, a song on that soundtrack and next to it a singer like Bob Dylan? Emmy Award-winning film that's on Netflix, and with the soundtrack like that, was that like for you? It was right next to a Bob Dylan song, right? So what was it about?
Texted me and said, hey, did you know your song's on like a Netflix movie with Bob Dylan? Watched it for myself, and it's just like every musician's dream, Be able to share a sonic landscape like that in a film soundtrack with someone like Bob Dylan. Really honored. Also, I guess this is a good opportunity to thank Valley Uprising film producers for using my music. I'm really humbled and grateful. Thank you.
Previous interviews and articles that I've seen, it looks like the singer of Dive played drums for Total Slacker, is that right? Can you tell me more about that?
That was a while back. That was on the first record. Cole Smith of Dive actually played guitar on the first record, and was a drummer before we made the album, Thrashin'. The whole situation with that was, before Ross Condon joined the band on the first album, we'd gone through a bunch of drummers, and Cole Smith was right before Ross joined, and so that was before we recorded the first album, Thrashin', and Cole Smith was playing drums, and then I introduced him to Dustin of Beach Fossils because I was playing drums every once in a while for Beach Fossils. And I told Dustin that I couldn't go on tour with him in Europe. And so he was like, well, I need another drummer that can commit for a tour. And I said, man, you got to use this guy that I've been using for a while. He's great. Cole went over and joined Beach Fossils. Simultaneously, I got my full-time drummer that could commit, Ross Condon, and then we recorded the first TS album called Thrashin'. And then Cole came back and played guitar on that record. Just for a couple songs,
So what's in store for Total Slacker? What's the next album going to be about?
I think it's just more of the same but different, and trying to go deeper into the concepts that I want to explore.
speaking of, big names, we recently saw that Beck is following you on Twitter. How does that feel?
I love the way he writes songs, and he doesn't take things too seriously, and I think that translates.
Well, awesome. Your guitars. What's your first guitar? What guitar do you play now? What's your favorite guitar?
It was a 64 Fender Mustang, and I was really excited because we found it in a pawn shop for like $250 when I was 9 years old, and it was the same one that Kurt Cobain would play a lot on, different shows and stuff, and you'd see like the photos of Nirvana. He was usually playing like a 60s Mustang, and I was just starting to find out about Nirvana at that time, so I was emulating him.
Oh, so are there any artists today that you would tell our listeners to look out for? Any artists that you are really loving today?
Check out Widow's Peak's new album, The Jacket. They're on Captured Tracks Records. Molly Hamilton and Rob Thomas, great writers and great musicians. Check out Widow's Peak if you haven't heard them. Also, really like Sunflower Bean. I'm sure you probably heard of them, but if you haven't, check out their new record. They're super interesting, great on their instruments, great songwriters.
Your second record was recorded at Strange Weather in Brooklyn, right? Could you tell me some more about that experience?
Yeah. Man, that was crazy. So it was, everyone knows Daniel Schlitt now because he's recorded all these legendary albums since then, but I was lucky enough to be the first artist to record in Strange Weather. Funny story about that though, like right after we cut the second album, Slip Away, he texted me late at night one time, about a week after, and it was just a photo of the sound console, the mixing board, and a little piece of tape on there, and it said Bobo's guitar. And I was like, I texted him like, who's Bobo? And he said, I'm remastering, we're working on Bob Dylan's record right now and doing a little tracking. And I was like, oh my God, please. And he was still working out the kinks in his studio. So
you working on anything new? Any new material like that?
I think since the fourth album just came out, Extra Life, it's like we're still kind of riding on the first wave of what that's bringing. We just put out a song like here and there.
And talk to me about some of your influences. Tell me about some influences, I guess.
Influences. Like Susie and the Banshees, another English 80s band, or like The Police. Sting is a big influence on my songwriting and musicality. Influences, I don't know. I really like Waylon Jennings of the Outlaws, like late 70s country music sometimes, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson.
This is Cooper Johnson with Week in Pop Magazine. We're here with Total Slacker and his fourth album, Extra Life, and which you can order through Bandcamp or contact him through Instagram. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.